books that bring you out of your reading slump are the best. Hello lovely people, my name is Nicole, and today we're going to be talking about a book that I really loved, and that was Snow Like Ashes by Sara Raasch. So for non-spoilery reviews, this is a book about a 16-year-old girl, and she is a refugee of the Winter Kingdom. She lives in a world where there are 8 kingdoms, the Seasons Kingdoms and the Rhythm Kingdoms, but she is a refugee of the Winter Kingdom, which 16 years ago was attacked by the Spring Kingdom, which is evil Spring Kingdom. And so she and I think like 8 or 9 other people are on the run from the Spring Kingdom. Everyone else in their kingdom is living in like work camps in the Spring Kingdom, and they are the only ones who are alive and free. And so they are working on trying to get back a locket that was the conduit of the magic of the ruler of the Snow Kingdom, or the Winter Kingdom. They are trying to get back both halves of it because it was broken. And so they are going on sort of spy missions into the Spring Kingdom to try and get them. And Mira is upset because she wants to go on missions to retrieve the locket, but Sir won't let her because he wants to protect her and he wants her to be able to be a proper lady when she wants to help and be a warrior. So this was such a good book. It took me a little while to get into it just because I was in kind of a reading slump when I first started it, and so I was only reading about 30 pages a day. And then last night I sat down and I just flew through the rest of it. I was about 100 pages in, and then I read all the rest of it, and it was amazing, and I loved it. I particularly loved Mather. He's an adorable person. He's fantastic. There are definitely a number of new literary crushes in this. It's wonderful. It's a fantastic young adult fantasy. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And I just really enjoyed this. The characters are compelling and the world is interesting, but it's not overly complex. And so all the world building is perfectly understandable, which is something that a lot of times I think is kind of difficult in fantasy series. And so I definitely recommend it to anyone who loves young adult fantasy. The next book is coming out sometime this year. Alright! That is it for non-spoilery portions, because I really want to talk about spoilery stuff. So if you haven't read this book, and you don't want to be spoiled, leave now. Like, now. Alright! Spoilers! Spoilers abound now. Oh my god, I love this book so much. I think the first thing I want to talk about, just to sort of get it out of the way, I'm gonna put this down because it's heavy, is the couple things I had issues with. There are only 2 super quick things, and those are, first of all, I don't know how to pronounce anything. Because it's a fantasy series, and everyone in fantasy series has weird names, and there's no pronunciation guide in the back. I am a firm believer that every single fantasy series should have a pronunciation guide in it, because I never know how to pronounce anything, and it's very frustrating. Anyway, other than that, there was one moment when we were getting some exposition. Queen Hannah was showing Mira the visions of how the conduits were made and why the conduits were made and everything that happened with the decay. I had to sort of go back and read that again to sort of fully understand it, and so that was just a little bit confusing on the first time I read through that bit. Those were really the only big problems I had with it. Other than that, I loved it. I definitely connected emotionally with all the characters, and there were a number of times where I had to put it down for like a minute, just because I had so many emotions, particularly when we got to Cordell and we found out that Mira had been engaged to Theron. I kind of flipped shit. I got so pissed off at Mather and Sir. I kind of went on a bit of a rant to myself. But it was the kind of pissed off where, like, I wasn't pissed off at the book. I was pissed off at the characters in the book. It was the good kind of pissed off when you're reading, if that makes sense. I felt very protective of Mira at certain times like that, just because she's such a sweetie and she wants so bad to, you know, protect her people and protect her kingdom. And I sort of saw the plot twist coming a little bit. There was a brief moment where I was a little worried she would be Mather's sister. I was pretty sure relatively early on that she was royalty. Whether that was Sir's daughter or Hannah's daughter, I wasn't quite sure. But I was pretty sure she had her parentage was important. I was right. I was really hoping she wasn't Mather's sister because they're adorable. But I definitely liked that plot twist, even though I kind of saw it coming. But I did still really enjoy it, and I thought the explanation with the decay was so cool and really, really interesting, about how everyone used to have magic, and then in order to protect the people, they put the magic into the conduits that only the kings and queens had. I thought that was really, really interesting and really kind of a brilliant backstory. I mean, like, it made sense, and obviously, you know, it made sense from the people's perspective and from the ruler's perspective and from a magic lore perspective. And so I really, really enjoyed that backstory. And then, especially with how the decay and the douchebag, you know what I'm talking about, the decay and the douchebag. I thought Engra was a fantastic villain. He was scary, but at the same time, like, I wanted to punch him in the face. He was, like, scary, but not so scary that, like, I don't think we could ever defeat him. I thought the idea of the rulers becoming conduits after the conduits are destroyed was really interesting, and I'm really interested into what's gonna happen now that everyone thinks that the locket is the conduit again. But it's not, because no one else knows that it's actually Mira. I think I feel like that's gonna be something that's gonna be important, and that's gonna be interesting later on. With Theron and Mather, those boys, oh my god. It reminds me a tiny bit of the Infernal Devices, not in, like, plot or character type or anything, but just in that we have what is a love triangle. Technically, it is a love triangle, but it's really well done, and I don't know who I'm rooting for, because they're both fantastic, and I love them both. But I don't know who I want her to end up with. And I'm really conflicted because I feel like I have to be rooting for one of them, but they're both fantastic. And at this point, I'm just like, hey, Mira, girl, whichever one you don't choose, hand the other one over to me, because, oh my god, they are babes. I loved the part where they were in Cordell and she went into, like, the training barracks and she saw Theron wasn't wearing a shirt and she's like, oh my god, he's hot. And then Mather came in and he wasn't wearing a shirt and she's like, oh shit. Oh, he's hot too. God damn it. What, is wearing shirts now illegal in Cordell? Oh my god, it was funny and adorable. But the thing about Mather and Theron is that they're, like, fantastic and adorable and super sweet and just genuinely good people, and they're kind of perfect, but they're not the kind of perfect that gets annoying. Like, a lot of times you see characters that are so perfect that you kind of want to punch them in the face. Because you're like, how is there nothing wrong with you? No, that's not fair. You're just so sweet to everyone and so, like, perfect and, like, sickly sweet. I can't with you. Gross, stay away from me. But Mather and Theron are so just, like, genuine in their goodness, but they're still human. They still get jealous, like with that that fight in Cordell. It's clear that they're both fighting because they're both jealous of each other with Mira, but they're trying to frame it as like an honor thing with their countries. There were many a time where Mira and Mather were so close to kissing, and I'm just like, love each other, admit it. And then when she basically said she loved him in the barn, I died, and oh my god, it's so good. With Mira, one of the things that I really, really liked about her was that while she is a skilled warrior, she is not the most badass of badasses, which I think is a common sort of trope in, especially in adult fantasy. You get these teenage girls who are the top of their game. They are the most powerful, the most badass, the most deadly. And not that I don't love a good badass assassin. Hello, Selena. It's kind of refreshing to see someone who's not always, you know, the top of their game. She felt a little bit more realistic because she wasn't always, you know, perfect. I really enjoyed seeing inside of her head, and she felt like a really good balance of being, you know, in this fantasy world and having problems from this fantasy world, but also being a teenage girl and being realistic in that sense and in the emotions that she felt. And it was so good. I am so excited for the sequel. Like I said, I give it 5 out of 5 stars. It was fantastic. I recommend this to everyone, especially people who like young adult fantasy. Like I said, the next book, Ice Like Fire, comes out later this year, in the fall. I love you all, and I will see you later. Bye.